Hi and welcome to Daily TFT Tips. Today I wanted to address a topic similar to the last Whisper one that severely annoys me, and it's about Lucian itemization. Now, I love Lucian. I think he's probably the best AP carry in the game right now. And it pains my heart to watch people build the most terrible items on him. And yeah, I mean, I remember yesterday seeing a guy with Lucian 3-star getting 6th place, and he probably could have gotten 7th place simply because he made terrible item decisions. So I wanted to address this and get all of the rumors about Lucian out of the way and explain how you should build him. Let's go over his ability first. Lucian dashes away from his current target and fires 2-3 shots at nearby enemies that deal magic damage. He's also twin shot. Twin shot has bonus attack damage and a chance to fire twice when they attack or cast an ability, meaning if twin shot procs and Lucian casts, he will cast again for free. This bonus cast, by the way, it doesn't proc stuff like Luden's Echo, so it is just something to keep in mind. Let's go over what I think is supposed to be his itemization. And his itemization is supposed to be deeply in AP. So for example, I would say one of my favorite Lucian item builds is something like this. It's just straight up damage. Now, obviously this build doesn't have any sustain. I tend to combine him with socialites. So for example, put in Ignar, Senna, a Seraphine, put him on a socialite, put him on a socialite hex. It honestly doesn't matter which one, and combine him with twin shots. Now, the reason why the position of the socialite hex doesn't matter is because even if the socialite hex is in the very first row, he tends to do a backline dash fairly quickly. So it's never really something you have to concern yourself with too much. If you end up not running a socialite, I mean, sometimes you will be running socialite, sometimes you won't. I mean, personally, I would always do it, but maybe, I don't know, you have a setup where you can't fit it in. Obviously, there's also the possibility of giving him a sustain item, like a Gunblade is fairly decent on him, or a Hand of Justice. It's not ideal, but it's definitely something you can do if you really value this type of sustain. And obviously, there's also damage items like Giant Slayer, who tend to be great with him. So it's about him dealing damage. And it makes perfect sense, because why this is his perfect item build? Because the twin shot gives you a cast for free. And as a general rule of thumb, burst damage is better than wave damage or sustain damage. Reason for this is that enemy units can't react if you kill them within one ability. They might get full mana, but they're 0 health. They can't react. If you end up building Lucian in a way that he deals a lot of damage often, or like he deals medium damage often, that usually means that, you know, you're feeding an Orianna a lot of mana, and she's not gonna die from the Lucian ult, so she's gonna cast, and that can wreck your fight if he ends up getting hit by it. Let's get to the itemization that I hate. And the first item I have to address here, it has to be Statiks. Statiks is so terrible on Lucian, and I hate it every time I see it. Why is it bad? Well, first of all, Lucian has, he has a dash, he has a cast animation, and he sometimes does a double cast. So he's not even that great at utilizing Statiks in the first place. And I think the misconception with Statiks comes a lot from this. This is the set 3 Lucian. He was a Blaster Cybernetic. We had a lot of different versions of Lucian. So he does this dash, and he does like a basic attack and a second shot with magic damage. And back then, Riot kind of like made a rule that the way his ultimate worked back then took Statiks into consideration. So Statiks used to be a pretty decent item on this Blaster Lucian. But this isn't the case anymore. This Lucian that we have right now, that is a pure AP carry. None of these shots will be taken into consideration for Statiks, making Statiks an absolute terrible item on him, because Statiks is a utility item. So what you should be doing instead is you should have the statics on someone like Corki or Jinx, preferably Jinx, but I mean, she's gonna join up late, so it tends to go on Corki a lot. And the reason for this is that statics has a great effect. Having the MR reduction is awesome in a Lucian comp, but you don't want the utility items on your main carry, especially if he's terrible at using it. So combining AP on Lucian while giving utility items like statics onto different twin shot units, so they can actually make use of the twin shots to proc the statics, is a much better way of playing the game. And trust me, try this out. I've seen so many statics Lucians perform terrible because of this, and it makes perfect sense. Why? Because statics doesn't help him in any kind of way to kill his unit, to kill the opponent team. And yeah, so this one, you really gotta trust me on this one. Statics on Lucian is absolutely terrible. Please stop building it on him. The other one is AD items. Oh my god, I hate this. I hate seeing something like this, or this, or this. You'd be freaking surprised. It doesn't matter if it's Master, if it's Grandmaster, and even Challenger. You will see from time to time an AD Lucian running around. And you know what? If that guy ended up finding a really early Lucian 2-star, but he went the physical route, maybe. But most of the time, it's terrible on him for the same reasons. He has a dash, he has long animation, the animation can double cast, and it doesn't profit from physical damage whatsoever. I wouldn't be surprised if a Twitch 2-star or an Ezreal 2-star would outperform this Lucian 2-star in terms of physical damage, simply because these types of items belong to somebody who's doing physical damage. Or like, for example, a Senna. I mean, I can totally see a 1-star Senna with these types of items completely outperforming this Lucian 2-star in terms of itemization. Lucian is a terrible AD carry, and you definitely shouldn't ever aim for this. I've made this mistake myself. I thought maybe it will work. He's twin shot, he's 2-star, you know, he can probably make use out of those physical items. I'm telling you, it's so terrible. He barely dealt any physical damage at all. I would never ever recommend putting AD items on Lucian. It goes back to the same mindset of people thinking because of the twin shot and because of the old Lucian that this might be a viable play, but it's not. Worst, like maybe as an item dump, but even then I'm heavily against it. I think there's so many better AD item dumps than Lucian, and it's not something you should go for. For the third item that I hate seeing, it's blue buff. Blue buff is a bit more complicated. So the thing about blue buff is this. First of all, it's not a damage item. Meaning you're already going away from burst and you're going into sustained damage. And sustained damage usually is the worst version. The second argument against blue buff is he dashes too much. You don't want Lucian to dash that much. Lucian is a bit of an inter. And if you give him blue buff, he ults more, and those ults deal less damage. So what's gonna end up happening is that this guy is just gonna start making a visit into the enemy backline. This happens surprisingly often. So a blue buff Lucian ends up putting himself into much more danger because first of all, he's feeding mana to the opponents, but he's also repositioning himself a lot of the times into a very terrible spot. And then he gets caught out and then he gets taken care of. I've seen this happen a lot. I don't like blue buff Lucian at all. What I would usually do is, if I have it here, I just end up putting statics on someone like Corki, and I'm fine with it. Maybe Hand of Justice. But yeah, so this is the second reason against blue buff. He tends to dash all over the place, puts himself in a pretty terrible position, ends up getting caught out, ends up dying because of this. And the third reason why I don't like blue buff, okay, this is a bit of a controversial one that I've had a lot of discussion on my streams about this topic. So my argument is this. I don't think blue buff profits with I don't think blue buff has a positive synergy with twin shot. because Twin Shot get a cast for free, and blue buff doesn't have any benefit for the second cast. If you get, so the argument with the argument blue buff people who slam blue buff on Lucian is that he's gonna cast more often, therefore he's gonna double cast more often, and that's something positive, right? Well, no, because here's where my argument comes in. I'd rather put a bunch of damage items on this guy, get a cast for free from Twin Shot, and just completely wreck my opponents with it. I'm like, yeah, a cast for free, awesome. But there's no benefit for blue buff. If you're running blue buff, you don't benefit from the Twin Shot cast. All you're doing is, the benefit comes after the Twin Shot cast, that you get to cast more often again, but like I previously explained in the example, too many Lucian dashes can be a bad thing. So you're not killing, you're not bursting the opponents, you're not really benefiting from the second cast, he mispositions himself. I hate blue buff on Lucian. Here, I said it, I hate it. Please stop building blue buff on Lucian, give him damage items, put him on a socialite hex. If you don't have a socialite hex, give him a healing augment or maybe a gunblade or something like this. Trust me, you will perform so much better with Lucian in the future if you adhere to these rules. If you think I'm talking a bunch of shit, let me know in the comments. I kind of want to hear what you guys have to say about this topic. Maybe you completely disagree with me on this. Would love to know it. Other than that, that was it for me today. See you guys tomorrow.